Hello everyone, welcome to a new video on the channel. Today we are in my new journal for 2025, one of them anyway. This is going to be the setup for the reading data journal, part one. I promised you guys that I would take you along the journey of setting up at least one of my journals for 2025, and I did mention that this one would most likely be the one that I would set up on camera for you all. So I have taken the time to do a lot of things off camera, I must admit. This section here, whilst it might feel a little bit long for some people watching it, was such a short amount of time to be spent on making something for this journal. Did a lot of stamping off camera. As you can see behind this little piece of paper that I am currently stamping a quote out on, I had a lot of test runs on the piece of paper behind it for different color schemes and lettering and everything like that. So yeah, this one is going to be used from 2025 hopefully, and covers up to 2027, like the end of 2027. This journal is basically one I use for stats rather than all my yearly and monthly and challenges and all those types of pages. This one is purely because I love having like some sense of order in my journal. So this yeah, I really like doing this journal, and I have had the one that I've been using for the last 2 years, but I have decided to upgrade simply because the paper quality of the one that I've been using, whilst it's been totally acceptable, I have had to essentially stick each page together, so double it up so it would be thick enough to deal with all the pens and stuff. So I decided while I was ordering one journal I would order two and get a new fresh start for 2025. So currently I am stamping out a quote with a Tombow Dual Brush marker. This is actually my favourite colour in the entire set. I had one that I utilised for so long, and this pen is actually my best friend's because mine has decided to go crusty and not the right colour. So this is just a really nice gold colour that I've used, I think, in 2022 in that journal a lot. It was one of my star rating colours, and this is the 026. I will have everything linked below of supplies of what I use as much as possible, but I just really like how this doesn't have a metallic or glitter sheen to it, but it still has that really nice colour that I'm looking for. And my theme for 2025 slash the start of this journal is, in this specific journal, I think I might continue it over the years, I'm not sure, but it is an academia theme. I really wanted to lean in to the browns, the golds, with a bit of red and dual toned colours here and there. I just really wanted to use some paper, and also I wanted decorative paper, sorry, and I also wanted it to kind of match this cover that is on the front of my 𝓤𝓼𝓮𝓷𝓭 square sized journal. And I will mention right now that I'm still very much so not used to filming such a wide book, so there will be a couple of times where it's not quite in frame, and I do apologize for that. I actually have to set this book up quite far onto my desk for it to hit the camera without moving the arm out of the way for the B5, so I will have to get a little bit more practice in while I am filming this little portion of setting up the journal. Like I mentioned, this is just part one, and I'm hoping to have at least two more parts as well. So this is the cover page that I decided to go with. In my original reading data journal, I had a cover page and then a quote. I decided to put the two together, and as you can see, this paper here is pretty much the inspiration for why I wanted to go with an academia theme. I also decided to use my current journal for 2024 for my everyday for the headers because I really liked the craft paper look. I'm not enjoying using it as a journal, but for decoration it's absolutely fine. So that is why I decided to stamp onto that. The quote that I ended up going with says, "How terrible to navigate the world without a story to comfort you." And this is from Ava Reid's A Study in Drowning. I feel like this one really encapsulates the academia theme, and so that is why I decided to take a quote from there. We all know that I'm not the greatest at decoration by drawing, so a lot of my books do end up being scrapbooky looking and utilizing tools that I have available to me, and I think this is a good way to showcase that you can just layer things very basically and it still looks okay, and you get everything that you wanted sorted in that page. I was very, very happy with how that came together. So we've now flipped over to the series tracker. So these first pages in the front of the journal are what I'm calling the global pages. There's only 2 sections in this global section. I decided to break everything up by global and then yearly. So in this video we're only sorting out the global portion, and I mentioned 2 pages, 2 sections, but it's actually quite a few pages. And during the setup of this first section, which will be the series tracker, I ended up being able to charge my battery in its entirety for while I was setting up all the line work that you're about to see come to life on this page. Now, I will say that I did also do tabs along the side like I did in my original reading data journal. The footage for that ended up not being captured. I think my camera must have died at the time when I pushed it and didn't notice. So I am going to show you a little bit of how I did the tabs at the end of the series tracker, and then also how they are started when we move to the next section. So now that the headers are down, I again use some more of that decorative paper that I really like, that's got such a great academia feel to it with the libraries and the books, and then stuck the headers on top. I am now going to do a lot of line work, and when I say that this took forever, it took all night. Like, I was working at this project for so long. I got so sick and tired of holding a ruler, but it was worth it in the end. I am utilizing my brown PITT artist pens by Faber Castell, and I think the line work is in the medium, so that's the 0.7, and then also the fine, which is the 0.5. Like I mentioned, everything will be linked below. Down the bottom here you can see me putting down some circles. This is where the key is going to sit for the years and the color code. So it's very much so going to be the same setup as the last journal, except I am utilizing the fact that this is a very wide page and trying to fit in 2 rows rather than just 1 row and a lot of decoration. I felt like I could really utilize these pages a lot better this way. It did mean a lot more line work, as I mentioned, but I think that it looks cohesive enough, and on each segment of the page you can see where there's a space that will be blank to write the name of the series and the author, and then these little boxes here represent the series, each book in the series. So you can see now that we've gone ahead right to the very end, tabs are on, and I am doing the last amount of line work. Like I mentioned, this was all done while the camera was charging again, and I did also utilize some washi tape. I will link the shop below for that. I just really wanted to utilize all these bookish things that I've been collecting for the longest time now. So as you can see, I am just adding some sellotape over the tabs just to give them a little bit of extra protection. Some people like to use washi tape, and I would have too if I felt like I had the right colors to match what I want as my theme in this journal, but unfortunately I didn't feel like I had enough that would match each other in the way that I wanted to, so I just used the colors that I've picked out. So they are a combination of Tombow Dual Brush markers, and I think there's some mild liners. I think I've grabbed 2 mild liners that are in the brown category out. So, oh, and one of the reds is actually an Anko dual brush marker. So we're on to the next section, and I'm just going to show you the old way, and we're going to kind of do the same section for this as well. And again, utilizing the fact that this is a wider book, I'm using another piece of decorative paper. This time is from an actual paper pad that I've had for the longest time. You probably have seen me utilize it at points. Yeah, I really like this paper pad. I think I don't have much of it left actually, so I'll be really sad when it goes because it's no longer available. But I did like this like layered scrapbooky paper effect here. So I decided to put it in the middle this time round just because I don't have anything that's wide enough to fit this journal. Again, learning all these new sizes of journals is something of an experiment, and I'm glad that I was able to work with it in this kind of format rather than trying to use it for my 2025 Soul journal, for the reading journal, that side, and then fluff it up. But this is a good way to learn a journal and not feel like I'm completely out of my depth. I do end up addressing the big white gaps that are off to the side, up the tops of the page, by adding in some stickers in a moment, but I'm just getting those lines in where I need them to. So these little skinny lines are going to then be boxed off to represent each book. I didn't decide to line every single page, every single line, because that would take forever, but I have gone through and done every box. You'll get to see that in a moment. So these stickers are from Temu, and I really liked the typewriter, but I decided to go with some book stacks instead to add on the ends here. And then once they're stuck down and I got the backs off, they were actually really hard to get the backs off of. I then went and did all that line work of the horizontal lines to make the little boxes. Again, I'll use the same color key code that I've got on those little circles on the series tracker to represent each book and the year that they were read in. So I'm just showing you how we start off the tabs here off the side, and then I ended up utilizing my scissors rather than using what are they called? A page trimmer. I normally do that, but my page trimmer is quite blunt and these scissors are very detail oriented, so I can get right in there without having to worry. I wasn't put off by the line work at all, so was able to keep it rather straight, which is very handy when you're doing it freehand and you've been using a ruler for the longest time setting this up. So this is just how I do the tabs. I was only cutting off 2 dot grids, or 1 dot grid in the edge of each page, and then just leaving a portion for the tabs that was 6 dots long. So you'll get to see that we're gonna flip around and find this terrible crease that was in the book that upset me, and then we jump to the end because the footage cut out yet again because the camera was just not having it this day. I worked it very hard, but here you can see part 1 is now set up. The global pages are all ready to go. Nothing has been added to these pages. I will leave them blank until we're finished with the project, and then we can sit together and fill it in. So thank you so much for spending some time with me as we set up this first journal. I just really wanted to show that you can do this with very minimal tools in your toolbox. And until we next meet, I hope you have fun reading or journaling, and I'll see you soon. Bye everyone.